In this video, we will discuss about the pole placement. So here in this figure, we are seeing the state space representation of a system. So in terms of equations, state space representation can be like this: x dot is equal to ax plus bu, where x is the state vector and u here is the input. So the same is drawn here in terms of block diagrams. So x dot is here, we integrated x dot to get x, then this x is multiplied by a to get ax here, then this is the input u multiplied by b to get bu. So x dot is equal to ax plus bu as given by this equation. Similarly, y is equal to c times x plus d times u. So in x we have multiplied matrix C to get cx and plus du from this path. So y is equal to cx plus du as written in this equation. So this is the state space representation of a system. And now D matrix is usually 0. So if D matrix is 0, then this part can be removed and the block representation will be like this. So the final equations are x dot is equal to ax plus bu and y is equal to cx. Now this matrix A is an important matrix known as system matrix. This is important because this matrix gives you the dynamics of the system. So we can find out characteristic equation with the help of A matrix like this. Si minus A is equal to 0 is the characteristic equation. And solutions of this equation are the poles of the system. So the poles of the system are solutions of characteristic equation. So for a given system matrix A, there are some poles in S plane, for example as shown here. So A matrix will decide where the poles of the system are. So here is an example. Suppose we have a characteristic equation of a system Si minus A is equal to 0 as this, that is s cube plus 3s square plus 5s plus 2. So this is the actual characteristic equation of the system, and suppose we want our system to behave according to this equation. So this is the desired characteristic equation. So this is actual characteristic equation, and suppose this is the desired characteristic equation. So changing characteristic equation means changing the system matrix A, and changing the system matrix means changing the poles of the system. So this comes under pole placement, where we are shifting the poles of this system from to get this characteristic equation instead of this characteristic equation. So we are shifting the poles of the system. So there are many methods to shift the poles of the system, but the pole placement technique is used to place the poles exactly where we want. We can pinpoint the location where we want to place our poles with the help of pole placement method. So suppose this is our system. X dot is equal to ax plus bu and y is equal to cx. Now pole placement means that we will measure x here. So you can measure it with the help of some sensor. So measure x here. Then by measuring this x, take the value out of the system, maybe from a sensor. So take the value out of the system and then multiply it by a matrix K. Now this is the matrix which we will decide. Okay, so this is not corresponding to the system. These matrices are corresponding to the these are specific to the system, but this matrix is what we will decide. So this is user defined, you can say. So you measure x, then you multiply it by K matrix. So if it is a 3 by 3 system, then K matrix will be just a vector having values k1, k2 and k3. If it is a 2 by 2 system, then K matrix will be k1, k2. That's it. So this is a vector which we are multiplying by x and then multiplying it by -1, so that we get minus of kx, and this minus of kx is fed back like an input. So here input was external, here input is just the feedback. So we measure x, we multiply it by k, multiply it by -1 and fed it back to the system. Now what happens when we do this? So what we are doing is we are putting u is equal to minus of kx. We are feeding back minus kx as an input. So this u we are putting as minus of kx. So we'll get this equation. So if we solve this equation, then x dot is equal to ax minus of bkx, and then there is no other input, no other external input. Let's say that external input is r. So our equation becomes like this: a minus bk times x plus no external input. So I am writing it like this because we need to compare this equation with this equation. So if we compare these two equations, then this is B matrix, this is our new B matrix, this is our new A matrix or new system matrix. Now A matrix is according to the system, B matrix is according to the system, but the K matrix is what we will decide. So if we decide K matrix, we can decide the poles of this whole new system matrix. So this is the technique known as pole placement, where we can place the poles of the system by measuring the state here. So if we want some external input also, then we can change our block diagram like this, where we are feeding back minus kx to the input side, but we are also giving external input. There is an error in this block diagram, and that is we will be having plus here because minus sign is already here. Now if you write the signal here, what is the signal here? The signal here is r minus kx. and then we multiply it by B matrix. So the signal here is BR minus BKX, and this is AX here. So what is X dot? X dot is equal to AX minus BKX plus BR. So this is nothing but this equation, where A minus BK is our new system matrix and R is the external input. So now new ABCD matrices are like this. New ABCD matrix A is A minus BK. New matrix B is same, B. New matrix C is same, C. And new matrix D is same, 0. So this is what pole placement is. Now we will see an example with the help of characteristic equation. Let us say we have a characteristic equation of a system S minus P1 multiplied by S minus P2 multiplied by S minus P3 is equal to 0. Now these are the poles of the system, poles of the closed loop system. Which are nothing but zeros of characteristic equation. Why? Because by putting these poles in the characteristic equation, we will get 0. So suppose that this is our actual characteristic equation and we have an example of that like this. Now if we want to shift these characteristic equation, these poles to some other value, let us say we want our poles to be shifted to these values, P1 delta, S minus P2 and S minus P3, where these are new poles of the system. So let us say this is our desired characteristic equation having new poles. So after this pole placement, this equation will be modified to this type. I am not covering much detail because you have already seen this in your third year, and you will also see this in the control systems theory class. So this actual characteristic equation after pole placement becomes like this, where these are the new coefficients of the characteristic equation. Now if you compare these with this desired characteristic equation, so it shows that K1 in this example should be 7 because 3 plus 7 will be 10. Similarly here K2 in this equation will be 10, then it will be 15, and here it is K3. So K3 will be equal to minus of 4. Okay, so this we have analyzed earlier. Well, we get a characteristic equation of our system, then we analyzed what K1, K2, K3 values should be so that we can get these characteristic equations. And when we find out the matrix K, which is K1, K2, K3, that is 7, 10 and minus 4 in our example, then we do this. We measure the state. This is our actual plant. This is our actual plant. So this plant will be getting some input and this will be getting some output. This is only the mathematical representation of our plant. So what we'll do, we will do this analysis on paper. We will find out A matrix of the system, B matrix of the system, C matrix of the system by writing the governing equations of that plant. Maybe it may be a DC motor, so you know the governing equations of DC motor. From that you can find out A, B, C, D of the DC motor. And then actually it is just a DC motor having some input. In the practical world we will be having some input to this motor and we will be having some output to this motor. So once we have find out ABCD matrices, we have find out the characteristic equation, actual characteristic equation, then we give the desired characteristic equation, then we find out what should be the values of K1, K2, K3, R, and once we get this K matrix, then we do pole placement now. So what we do, we will measure X with the help of some sensor, then we will take this out and feed it to maybe some microcontroller. So we'll feed it to some microcontroller where these X values are multiplied by K, which we have pre-calculated, and then the output of the microcontroller, it is fed back to plant. For example, if microcontroller is giving output in 0 to 5 volts range, suppose, and the values of minus kx is coming out to be suppose 15, that means this plant should be getting 15 volt supply. So first, microcontroller cannot give large output, so we will put some amplifier here, which will boost up the output of the amplifier to 15 volts, because minus kx is coming out to be 15 volts, for example. Then this 15 volts will be given with the help of some amplifier, and then this will be given to the system. So this is how we do pole placement. So now we will see some example in MATLAB of the pole placement. It will be a magnetic ball suspension example in which we try to hold the magnetic ball in the air with the help of magnet. So the objective of this experiment is to simulate pole placement technique by state feedback using MATLAB. So these are the state space equation that we all know. X dot is equal to ax plus bu and y is equal to cx plus du. So to do pole placement, first of all we have to convert our system to this equation, which is a equation of linear time invariant system. So if our system is non-linear, we have to linearize it about the operating point. So our system is this: we have a voltage source, DC voltage source, then we have resistance and inductance of the circuit, and we have this inductor which is having magnetic energy stored in it. When current flows through this circuit, so the flux in the inductor attracts the magnetic ball, which is otherwise falling towards the ground. So if large current flows through this inductor, this ball goes upwards. If current is less, this ball will go down. So this system is as we will see that this system is inherently unstable. If the voltage applied is for example 0, then current will be 0, so no force will be exerted on the ball and the ball will keep on going in the downward direction. So if this is H is the separation between the magnetic ball and the magnetic and this inductor core, then this H will keep on increasing. So H will go on to infinity ideally. So the equations of this system are given like this: m d2h by dt square is equal to mg minus ki square by h, where I is the current in the circuit. This is the equation using Newton's second law. So m into a, this is nothing but acceleration. If we look at this ball, so there are There are two forces acting on this ball. One is the gravitational force, which is mg, and minus the attractive force due to this solenoid. So the m into a acceleration of the ball, which is in terms of h, m d2 h by dt square, is nothing but mg minus ki square by h. And then second equation is that of the electrical circuit. So as you can see, V is equal to IR plus LdI by dt. Now these values are taken. M is equal to 0.05 kilograms. K here is the constant of this attractive force, which is equal to 0.0001. L is the inductor, which is 0.01 Henry. R is resistance, having 1 ohm, and G is the constant, which you know it is 9.81 meter per second square. Now let us say at the starting, when the ball was at rest, we have started from h is equal to 0.01 meters. So we start from h is equal to 0.01. So this system is linear, non-linear. As you can see, this system cannot be converted to this system without linearizing, because there is I square term here. So we cannot use this system as such. We have to linearize this system. So to linearize the system, we have to choose an operating point, and the operating point which we are choosing is h is equal to 0.01 and current as 7 amperes, and velocity, which is nothing but dh by dt, is equal to 0. So the states that we have chosen are current I, velocity, that means h dot, and height, that means h, which is the separation between ball and the solenoid. So this part you have to do by yourself. You have to linearize this system across these points. H is equal to 0.01 meters, I is equal to 7 amperes, and h dot is equal to 0. So if you linearize this system, you will get these ABC matrices. So we are starting from these ABC matrices after linearizing. So how these matrices are obtained, this is your question, and you have to add this in your report. So question 1 is, show how does the above matrices are obtained by linearization. Now once these ABCD matrices are obtained, then we have to see the response of the system when input is 0, when response of the original system with no input and non-zero initial conditions. So this is wrong here. This should be non-zero initial conditions. So let us go to this program in MATLAB. So we will open this program and we will see what are these commands written in this program. First we will clear the workspace as usual, and we will clear the command screen. Okay, now A matrix is same as we have obtained, B matrix is same, C matrix is same. Then we have used this command poles is equal to EIGA. EIG is nothing but eigenvalues of matrix A. So this command evaluates the poles of the system. So as you all know, A matrix is a system matrix. This contains the information about the poles of the system. So poles is equal to EIGA and determines the poles of the system, and the result is stored in a variable known as poles. So let us evaluate this part only. So I'm selecting this part and clicking on evaluate selection. So as you can see, A, B and C matrices are formed and poles matrix is formed. If we double click this, you will see that poles of the system are 31.05, which is on the right hand side of S-plane. So the system is unstable, and other two poles are on the left hand side of S-plane. So because of this pole, the system is unstable. Now we define the time period for which we want to plot the position of the ball. So we want to plot the position of the ball with time. So it is unstable system, so it should go to infinity with time. So we are taking time duration from 0 to 2 seconds. So this is the method of writing a matrix or a time series where we are starting with 0 and we are taking a step of 0.01. So we are writing 0 colon then 0.01. It means we start from 0 and then we take steps of 0.01 and then colon 2. That means we will go up to 2. So if we run this command, so as you can see, it is starting from 0, then 0.01 steps it is taking, and then it is going finally up to 2. So in total there are 201 values of time. Now we are defining the input. So for each of these time instants we have to define the input. So what was the input at 0 time, what is the input at 0.01 time, 0.01 second, what is the input at 0.02 second. So for each of these time instants we have to define the input. That's why we have used this command, u input is equal to zeros size of t. So size of t is nothing but, as you can see from here, 1 cross 201. So from workspace we are seeing the size of this t variable, which is nothing but 1 cross 201. That means this matrix has 1 row and 201 columns. Zeros command will generate a number of zeros, and how many number of zeros are there depends on this size. So this command will generate 1 cross 201 zeros. So let's evaluate this selection. So you can see there is a U matrix having dimension 1 cross 201. If you double click it, you will see U matrix contain all zeros up to 201th element. So this is how we define input for each time instant, which is 0, that is there is no input. Then we are specifying initial condition. So here they have taken h is equal to 0.01 meter and velocity as 0, and current is also taken as 0 here. So this initial condition they are starting with 0.01 meter height, 0 meter per second velocity, and 0 ampere current. Here we have mentioned that we are linearizing the system about 7 amperes, but in the program they have used 0 amperes. So that means these matrices should be at 0 amperes. So when you will do this question, please correct it. You do it for 0 amperes. When you linearize these matrices, you linearize for h equal to 0.01 meter, h dot equal to 0 meter per second and I is equal to 0 amperes, and see what result it shows. Then we have defined a system using SS command. So SS command is nothing but state space, and it is applied on ABCD matrices. So ABC matrices we have obtained, and D matrix is 0 as usual. So SS command just store these matrices in the system known as sys. So it just saves the state space model, the complete state space model in variable sys. Now sys will mean a state space system having ABCD matrices. Now let us run these two commands. So if you double click sys, so it contains the whole model definition. So this is the way of writing a state space system. Now LCM command is used to plot the output of the system and to plot the states of the system with time. So for LCM command we have to give some inputs, and first input should be the state space model which we have saved in sys. So first input will be sys, second input will be the input to the plant, that is u, third input will be the time for which we need to plot the outputs and states, and fourth input will be the initial conditions. So if we give these, then y and x will be plotted. So let us run these commands from here to the end. The last three commands are just the labeling of the figure which we will get after plotting. So this command gives the output y and x, and this command plots y with respect to t. So I am evaluating this selection. So it should give the plot. Yes, the plot is here. So as you can see, the ball position is the output, which is the height h, which we have seen in the lab manual, and with time it is increasing exponentially. So it is going up to 10 to the power 24 by time 2 seconds. So this part appears like it is 0 for 1.8 second, but this is not the case. As we zoom in to, let's say, 0 to 0.2, then also we will see an exponential curve. So I am zooming in further. The three states were the height, h, and h dot, that is speed, and current. So h will be increasing exponentially because the ball is going down, and so does the speed. As ball goes down, its speed increases because of the gravity, and the current is 0 because V voltage is 0. So that's what we are seeing here. We are seeing only two states, red one which will be h, blue one which will be h dot, and the third state is orange one which is 0. So if you zoom in, then also you will notice that this state is 0, which is nothing but current of the system, because we have applied 0 input, that is voltage, DC voltage is 0, so the current is 0. Now let us move to the next section. Now input is still 0 and initial conditions are there, and now we are placing the poles at the desired location in this program. So as you can see that A and B, C matrices are same. This command is same. These commands are also same. Now we are specifying the poles at which we have to place the specifying the location at which we have to place the poles. So we are placing pole 1 at -10 plus 10i, pole 2 at -10 minus 10i, and pole 3 at -50. So all of these poles are on the left hand side of S plane. So the system should become stable after placing these poles. So as you have seen from the theory, K has to be given by the control engineer. So we are finding K by place command. So if you have to place your poles at P1, P2, P3, so you have to find corresponding K for that, and you can do this by place command, and in bracket there are A matrices, B matrices, and the location of the poles. So if you give this, you will get K as the output. Now as we have seen in the theory, the new system matrix will be A minus BK, and if you are giving input, then B matrix will be same as B matrix as we have discussed in the theory, and C matrix will be same as the C matrix, and D matrix will be 0. So the only change is that the new system matrix will be A minus BK. Now we have again defined the system in state space and saved it as syscl, where CL means closed loop after the pole placement. Now we are again using the LSIM command to generate the output. So LSIM, and under bracket we have taken syscl, which is the new system with system matrix A minus BK, and input is again 0. As you can see from here, U is zeros size of T, as we have seen in the previous program. T is same and X0 is same. Now let's plot this in MATLAB. So this is the same program. We have placed the poles at this location, and then LSIM command will itself plot the output. So in the previous program we have used plot command, and LSIM was used just to store the values in Y and X, but LSIM command itself will also generate the Y signal with respect to time. So let us run this. So as you can see, the output, that is H with respect to time, is not going to infinity, rather it is stabilizing at 0. So what does it mean? It means that this ball will go up, that is when H is equal to 0. So it will just go up until H is equal to 0. Now let us plot the output when poles are placed at some other location. So I am changing the pole location to -30, that is I am making it more stable. -30 here and -30 here. So minus 30 plus 10i and minus 30 minus 10i. And we will do the same thing, and we will use the command hold on. So hold on command will be used to save any previous plot, and the new plot will be drawn on the same plot so that we can compare the two plots. So I am using the hold on command and running again by changing the pole locations. So as you can see, the red one is the new graph, and it is settling quickly because the system is more stable. So we have placed the poles more towards left, that is minus 30, and the system is settling quickly. Now let us change this imaginary part and see what happens. So we are making these poles same again, and the real part same again, and we are increasing the imaginary parts of the new pole locations. And I am again running this program. So as you can see, this plot is coming. So that means the frequency of the response has changed. So you can do this on your own and try to infer what is happening with these plots when different pole locations are chosen. Now we are using hold off command because now we do not want to keep on plotting on the same plot, so we are using hold off command. Okay, one more thing which we have to discuss is that we need to find the value of k for each pole location. So let us start with the original one. Let us start with minus 10 plus 10i and minus 10 minus 10i and see the value of k. So I am removing this semicolon so that I can see the value of k, and then I am running it. So k is minus 280, minus 7 and minus 0.3. Let us save it somewhere. So for these poles, k is coming out to be this. Now let us change the pole locations to this minus 30 and run it again. Now k values are coming out to be these. Now these are the values of k at poles when we were closer to the imaginary axis. Okay, so I mean this, for these poles k matrix is coming out to be these three elements. But when we change the poles to minus 30 plus minus 10i, then k is coming out to be this. So as you can see, these elements in the second row are coming out to be more than the first case. So what does it mean? It means that when we want to place poles farther in the left hand side of the S-plane, that is farther towards left, then value of k will be large. So what does it shows? It shows that the input u, as you have seen in the theory, which is nothing but minus of kx, will be more if we want to place poles farther towards left. So because x is same but k is more for the second case, so input u will be more. So in our case, the voltage applied to this circuit should be more if you need to place poles more towards left. So that is known as the control effort required. So the control effort required will be more. So this is one question which you have to answer. Compare the control effort required, which is nothing but the K in both the cases. If you want to make system more stable, you need to provide larger input, and it may need an amplifier which can provide larger input. So it may cost you more. If you need an amplifier which is providing higher input than before, then that amplifier might be costlier, because this V has to be variable and it should be able to provide DC output according to the closed loop, DC input to the system according to the closed loop. So control effort is more, that means we need to be more, and amplifier, DC amplifier which is providing DC supply to this should have higher rating. Now at last we are seeing the result when some input is provided. So all of the program is same, except that instead of U to be all zeros, we are providing U to be some step input. So there in the previous program it was zeros, now it is ones. So ones simply means that we have an input which is having all elements 1, like this, for each value of time, because it is size of t here. So ones under bracket size of t means for each value it will have 1, as we have seen in the example, it will have 1 cross 201 number of ones, because size of t was nothing but 1 cross 201. So these many ones will be there, and all will be multiplied by 0.001. That means what we are doing, we are providing a step of 0.001. So this is nothing but step input. Now let us run this. Let us run this program where input is 0.001 step. So I am writing grid on to see the grid also. Now as you can see, the height does not go to 0, rather it has some finite value which is minus 3 point something into 10 power minus 5. Now there is one more program which compares the output by scaling it, because it is minus 2 point something, and it is not easy to compare it with the step input. So what another program is doing, it is scaling up the input or output such that the output comes in the range from 0 to 1 only. Okay, so this we will see, and this is up to you to find out, to see what this program is doing. I'm just explaining a little bit here. So let us say we are using this program here. Everything is same except that we have used a function known as rscale. So all of the things are same. Then we have placed the poles and everything, just that we have run a function known as rscale, and inside this we have provided our system sys and gain k, and the resultant n bar is the factor by which we should scale the system, and this factor we have used here in the input. So if you do so, then your output will come in the range 0 to 1. How it is coming, this is up to you. You have to find this out and write it in your report. So I'm using the rscale function. So this is a function which is taking system and k and then doing something which you have to figure it out. Now this is important, that this function has to be placed in a location where this file is placed, because when we will run this program, then it will search for rscale function, and if rscale function does not if it does not find the rscale function in the same directory, it will give error. So this rscale function, which is used to scale up the output, we are saving it in the same folder as this file. Okay, so this is important. Now I am running this program. Everything is same except that we have run rscale and saved n bar, and that n bar we have provided to the input. That means we have scaled up the input here. So you have to see what rscale is doing. I'm just running this program and comparing. So as you can see, what happens is now the output comes in the range of input. Okay, so what is the input? Input is 0.001, and what is the output? It is also 1 into 10 to the power minus 3, that is again 0.001. So what this rscale is doing, rscale is providing a factor n bar so that our output comes in the range of input. Our output comes in the range of input, and input is in the range from 0 to 0.001. So output is also should also come in the same range so that we can compare the two. We can understand this like this. Suppose that we have a closed loop transfer function having this block diagram. Let us say this is some plant. For example, this is some motor, and we are giving some command here, for example from 0 to 5 volt range, and correspondingly we are getting some speed, for example 1400 rpm. And then there is a tacho generator, for example, which is converting this speed from omega to voltage V in the range 0 to 5 volts. Now if you give an input here and you get an output here, now you cannot compare these two on the same graph, right? You cannot do like this. If you compare it, so it will be 0 to 5 here. So let us say it is 5 volts. This is your input, and output will be a very large value, which is 1400 rpm. So you cannot compare these two. However, you can compare this with this, right? Because here it is a summer block, and for error to be 0, this should be equal to this. So these two are comparable. So that is what we are doing in rscale function. We are actually keeping the output down to this level, or in short, we are trying to mimic this signal here, so that when we do this, we can actually compare the two signals.